How you doing, everyone? This is Ryan Jenkinson from Reverend And The Makers and the Roland V-Drums demo team. Welcome to my series of videos getting hands-on with this guy, the SPD-SX sampling pad. The first topic we're going to cover is click tracks and backing tracks. Thanks a lot for watching, and I hope this helps. Backing tracks then. So what's that all about? It's not like the olden days where pop singers would press play on the tape and then go out and dance around and pretend like they were singing. That doesn't tend to happen anymore, and if it does, people tend to get found out. So it's not a case of that kind of backing track, but instead it's complementing your band's live performance by having something playing out which you may be recorded for the record, but you don't have the ability to play it live. One example with Reverend And The Makers, how we use a backing track. We've got a friend of ours who played bongo on some of the songs. Now, he can't come and play every gig with us, so his bongo parts can play out of the SPD-SX. We've also had some gospel singers who came and did a middle eight on the last record, which was amazing. But again, we can't take the gospel singers on the road. So using a backing track system, we're able to have their parts play out. Now, this poses a problem because the band all need to play perfectly in time with the backing track. And that's my job because I run the backing track. Now, in order to do that, I have to play to a click track. So that's just a simple click, clock, clock, telling me the timing of the song so that I can stay with it. So how do we get these click tracks and these backing tracks onto the SPD-SX so we can play along with them? Well, that's what I'm going to show you first. So we have our backing track, which you're going to need to build in your digital audio workstation, whether that's Cakewalk or Sonar or Ableton, Pro Tools, any one of those, even GarageBand. You build your backing track on there using all the different things you want with it, and then you can also create your click track on there. And then what we can do is we can trigger them both at the same time on the SPD-SX, so they'll play simultaneously together, and as long as you stay in time with one, then you'll stay in time with the other. And the click track is a lot easier to stay in time with than the backing track. So that's how we do it. So in the digital audio workstation, you'll see here, I've created the backing track file. Now this is a Reverend And The Makers song called Bassline. What this is this is for when I'm doing Roland demos. I can play along using a V-Drums kit. But the rest of the band's parts are all coming out of this backing track. So this is not something that we use live in the band. Instead, it's something I use in music stores and drum shows, etc. So on this backing track, there's slightly more than what's on our live one. So do bear that in mind. Let's switch to Sonar then. This is the digital audio workstation that I'm going to use just to demonstrate on this video. But it will look different depending on whether you're using GarageBand, Pro Tools, whatever. But all the principles are pretty much the same. We have already loaded in the backing track here, and you do that by file import audio. That's the same on most workstations as well. And then we'll need to set the tempo grid so that the audio workstation knows the tempo of the track that they're dealing with. And for this particular one, it's 128 BPM. So you can see I've put that in down here. So now the tempo is set correctly. We know the tempo grid is going to help us line up our backing track and our click track. So we'll need to add a click track now. So this is a new lane underneath. There's loads of different ways you can do it depending on the workstation. You can use step sequencers, drum machines. Essentially what we're looking for is 4 notes, 2 different sounds. So one type of sound on the 1, which is the first beat of the bar. I like to use a cowbell because it's nice and clear. And then for the rest of the beats in the bar, just a normal click sound. So once you've got that, like I've done here, it should sound like so. And then you'll notice that's only 1 bar though. We're going to need to loop that for the entire duration of the backing track. So again, just change the settings on your workstation to make sure that when that loops, it snaps to the grid. And then you can pull it all along the timeline to cover up the backing track.
All the Monday spent craving for Friday's highs. All the people want is baseline.
Okay, so we're nearly there, but now we're going to need a counting. This is so that when we trigger these two samples, we get 2 bars of click to let the rest of the band know that the song's about to start. So we do that just by dragging the backing track along to the right just for 2 bars. So there's 2 bars of space at the beginning, but make sure those 2 bars are completed by the click track underneath. So you'll need to check that. Also check that the click track goes all the way to the end of the backing track. Okay, so we're pretty much done now. We're ready to export these from the digital workstation, ready to go to the SPD-SX. They'll need to go as 16-bit WAV files and not 32, because 16-bit is the format for the SPD-SX. And one other thing you'll need to check is that they go as separate tracks. We don't want the workstation to bounce them into one master track, because then there'll be no way of separating what you hear with what goes out of front of house. So you need to make sure that they're set as 2 completely separate WAVs. One of them, when you finished, should be named, in this case, baseline ND, baseline no drums, or backing track or whatever. And then the other one, which is baseline click or click track. And then once you export these as 16-bit, we're ready to go. So that concludes the first part of this video. We now have our backing track and our click track ready to go. So stay tuned to the next part where I'll be showing you how we get it onto the SPD-SX and how we play it live.
All the Monday spent